Hello, good morning, my creative friends. Welcome to Painting in Your PJs with Minette, and I'm noticing my hair seems to be extra crazy this morning. It's a cold and chilly morning where I am in Loveland, Colorado. And painting in your PJs is really all about helping you connect your creativity to other aspects of your life and see visual journaling, working with our Sacred Circle designs as ways to connect more deeply to ourselves. Sometimes it feels like personal growth and personal development can be hard work, but it can be fun and playful too. And throughout the month of December, I have a big pile of stuff to play with here today. I am going to be creating a end of year reflections journal. And last week at the end of November, I showed how I took some old canvas boards to create this journal. And then I showed how I used one of my son Connor Dobson's absolutely gorgeous Sacred Circle designs to create a title page. And then we started our 22 questions, end of year reflection questions yesterday. And I started yesterday with what was 2022? Good morning, Jill. What was 2022 like for me? And here's the finished page. I didn't quite finish it on the live stream. I needed to sit with it a little bit. And I wanted to add some journaling and really capture. But the result was that it was a topsy-turvy year. There were a lot of ups and downs. Good morning, PJ. Thanks for being here. Great to see you both back again this morning. It was a topsy-turvy year, but it's really ended up in a good place, right? I'm feeling a lot of what I said here was radiant calm. So I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. And today's question is, what can I celebrate about this year? And I'm going to type that here in the chat. Oops, and I hit some weird button. I'm on a PC for the first time in a long time, and I'm still trying to figure out where everything is after being a Mac girl for so long. But what can I celebrate about this past year? It's so easy to really be in the space of looking at all the things that went wrong at the end of the year and all of the woulda, coulda, shouldas and the things that didn't work out quite like you wanted them to. And I've been doing this as a business coach for artists and creatives for the last decade and as a life coach and creativity coach now as well, about getting people to pause and celebrate, even if it's something small. It doesn't have to be, we think our celebrations have to be big. Like one of my celebrations was buying a house. This is my front door right now. But some of those small celebrations were my commitment to exercise and walking. And I did that a lot more than not this year, even through all of the changes and moves and travels. I'm celebrating an abundance of really amazing travel and experiences this year. So there's a lot to celebrate and remember, celebrating some wonderful things that happened in my business, like my son Connor and I launching our brand new Mindful Patterns membership, which is all about connecting mindfulness and spirituality to our creativity using Sacred Circle designs that are created by Connor. So what I did for today's spread, I'm going to dive right in here. And I'd love those of you that are watching live, if you have a celebration that you'd like to share, I'd love to have you, what's one thing that you're celebrating about 2022? And share that in the chat section. I'm not sure where on the screen the chat section is, but you guys could probably help each other out because I'm using some streaming software here. But what can you celebrate? So I took some time to do some journaling ahead of time because it's not very exciting to just sit and listen to me write. And then I just spent a few minutes thinking about, well, how can I honor that theme of celebration and what happened this year. And a couple of things popped out. One of Connor's designs that I colored like a sunflower. So in the late summer, the sunflowers here blooming were beautiful. I can also celebrate moving into this beautiful new home. Retirement from your day job, PJ, that is a huge celebration. That is so exciting. I also pulled out just a couple of pages of collage material. This is actually from a children's book on how to build a castle. So this is the fun floor plan of a castle, which felt very appropriate. And then just some pages of words as well. And an envelope and a couple of tags. I don't even know what's in this envelope, but there's a pretty card in here and one of my journey circles with a compass. There's no mistakes. So I definitely want to save this beautiful hand-painted card, but I'm kind of liking that envelope. So maybe, and it may be bigger than I want it to be, but we're going to see, and these tags are nice. So I have all these things, and like I said yesterday, it's, for me, this is a very intuitive process. So all I know is that I want to have this door and this sunflower or parts of them in my spread somewhere towards the end, but how I'm going to get there is going to be an interesting journey. And what I'm noticing is I like the feel of these pages a little bit better when they have some collage on them. And I just love in my visual journal adding some, I also found this feels like such a celebration picture. It's from a children's book. I love finding old children's books, textbooks. I think this was one I found somewhere for free, full of poems and rhymes, but it feels like such an image of celebration, so I may choose to use that or part of that as well. But collage can add integrity, it can add texture to the pages. I got it nice and toasty warm in the basement down here, so I'm going to shed a layer, and I'm probably going to shed a layer for like 3 minutes, and then I'm going to get too cold. And now you can see my fun new winter snowflake pajamas. They are so cozy. And there's different ways to add collage to a page. Like, I'm kind of loving this one because I could just tear out this page and glue the whole page down. I'm just going to rip and shred a little bit. I really love those big black lines in there. These are going to create, kind of like yesterday when I was writing with the Sharpie, we're going to get some nice random lines down on the page. I don't have to cover the whole page with collage by any means, but I can get a few pieces on there. They're just going to give this thin paper. Then this is great to do if you're working in an altered book or pretty much any kind of, I forgot to bring my scrap papers over here to protect my under pages. But you can do this with any kind of paper if you feel like the paper's too thin for the amount of mixed media layers that you want to add on top. It's a great way to strengthen your pages. It's a great way to start a blank page, to just get some marks going on a page. So there's a lot of reasons to kind of start with collage, and I think that's absolutely enough collage. So I'm going to use my matte medium. And I have some golden matte medium that I bought because it was on sale. I really like the Liquitex matte medium. It's probably my favorite one. Any matte medium will work, but I often will look for when Michaels is having a sale. And again, I started with Sharpie. I'm putting matte medium on both my surface and the back of my image to make sure I get it to adhere nice and flat on there, because even though I like the texture of the collage, and I'm being very liberal with that matte medium to cover that surface, even though I like the texture, I don't want it to be bumpy. I really want it to be nice and flat on there. This is the messiest part of the process for sure. I end up with matte medium all over my fingers. You definitely have to scrub a little bit to get it off your fingers. I noticed I was kind of putting everything very sort of square, so maybe I'm moving things around a little bit. What about you, Jill? What are you celebrating this year? Anything exciting? We had some amazing travel experiences this year. We drove from Loveland, Colorado to help our daughter get settled in her first apartment and university in Eugene, Oregon. Saw some great things on the way, and then kind of took the long creative way home and spent a couple of days in the Grand Teton National Park, which is one of our favorite places. We actually went there on their honeymoon 26 years ago. All right, feeling like I need one more piece over here. So already, just like yesterday, I've planted all the seeds of my celebrations. I've written those into the page. And I'm going to start building up texture and color on the page as I decide where I want to go with this spread. I'm just getting the rest of that matte medium off of my wedge there. And I'm ready to start adding some color, but I want that matte medium to dry for a little bit. So I'm going to set that aside for a minute, because I had an idea I love working with big manila tags. In fact, we're going to be working with these in the Radiant Retreat this weekend, which the registration is closed for December, but I still have plenty of openings for the January Radiant Retreat. And I love adding tags to my books, and so I was thinking about these extra images that I wanted to add, and could I do something fun and festive with these tags? And I have so many of these designs that I've used over the year that I like to think of creative ways to use up the ones that I've colored. And Jill is celebrating spending the summer at the beach, a full 90 days. That is amazing, Jill. Congratulations. Well deserved, I know. I also took a wonderful trip for the first time, to the Adirondacks, to an amazing retreat led by my dear friend Christine Powers called Philosopher's Camp, and got to spend about 4 days on her beautiful property in upstate New York, glamping in a fancy tent and having lots of campfires and just some deep introspective conversation about our relationship with the land, with life, what's happening in our lives. It's a really, really beautiful experience. My dear friend Andrea Shebelou and we had a full, wonderful year to celebrate. So I have a lot to celebrate in my business. We led 2 in-person retreats in her studio in San Jose, California. And we're going to do one next fall, and we're also going to do one here in Colorado next summer with a couple of other of our creative friends. So I'm super excited about that. So our creative stretch program is in its 3rd season, and we're in season 3 of that right now. And we interviewed 12 amazing artists, and we have over 700 people signed up listening to those interviews, all about mapping the language of human experience. So there's been a lot to celebrate both personally and professionally. And yesterday when I was doing that topsy-turvy page, thank you for bearing with me as I painstakingly cut this sweetie pie out. You know, yesterday I looked at the topsy-turvy nature of the year and all that had gone on, and it feels really good to pause today and look back at all the things that did go right this year, not just all the things that were a struggle or a challenge, but also all the things that went right. And I want to go into 2023 from that energy of, here's all the things that went right. Here's what I want more of. And when I look at the things that didn't go the way I wanted, I can even see those as celebrations and moments of understanding, okay, this is what I want less of going forward. I'm going to go ahead and cut my red door out here too, and then we'll have our cutting done for the minute. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about, excuse me, what I call visual journaling, which to me is a little bit different than art journaling. People use them kind of interchangeably. But for me, visual journaling is really all about, good, that's going to be the right size. I had to print that a couple of times to get to the right size. But visual journaling for me is really about using our creative practice as an introspective tool for personal growth. And I tend to follow a very similar process every time that I do it. I always start with a question or a prompt. Sometimes I might start with a poem. That's so dry here that everything dries fast. I might start with a poem and incorporate lines of the poem or use the poem as a writing prompt as well. And the layers for me are all about creating meaning, right? So I didn't just choose any collage material. I was a little more intentional with what I put. I planted my own writing into both of these pages so that I can capture what's going on. I don't need to remember the writing. I'm not someone who goes back and reads my journals very often, although I do a lot of writing and journaling. But this way I can really both verbally and visually capture the moment. And there's always something that arises that surprises me in this process or helps me to remember a moment and an experience. And I'm going to grab my oil pastels. And I think the other thing about visual journaling is that I love building up all the layers, but I almost always end with collage and a focal point image that sort of captures the story visually. And the thing about visual journaling that I love is it helps us remember that we're visual people. Before we had words, we could see as babies, right? Our other senses were much more active as babies. We could smell, our mom, we could hear our parents' voices or our siblings' voices. And I'm just randomly making marks with an oil pastel that feel like celebration today. Happy movement on the page. And before we had words, we had sight and vision, right? Before we had words, we had sight and vision. And as creatives, our brain often thinks more in images than it does in words. And when we spend too much time in the wordy part of our brain, we can get easily caught up in overwhelm, in overthinking, as opposed to really getting to the core of an issue or the core of an emotion. So I find the visual journaling practice to not just be calming, but to be brilliant for problem solving as well. And some yellow on there, just all these happy colors of celebration. And I have a couple of Caran d'Ache Neo Pastel, which are nice that I bought to try, but most of these are just inexpensive set from, I think, Michael's or somewhere, a Pentel oil pastels. We don't need fancy, expensive supplies, although if that's your jam, go for it. But I've had the same box of oil pastels for years now. They last a long time. And they're great for layering. I even use them on final layers of painting on canvas to add texture and the creaminess, but they make a great underlayer as well. And you can scratch through your work and have some of that color pop back through things. I was looking to see, I don't have my skewer over here, then I'll find something that works. Maybe the end of a paintbrush. And so when I think about celebration, I'm going to think about some happy colors, and I'm feeling yellow today, and maybe some orange. Again, I'm intuitively picking these colors, and maybe some of this fluorescent pink, and let's see what kind of a mess we can make with these. I'm just trying to get color down on the page, and I'm being both intuitive and thoughtful about the colors. What colors represent celebration for me? What colors represent celebration for me? Some of these paints are getting down to the end of the bottle, and I'm just using a palette knife to kind of put that color down on the page. And I'm not even going to clean my palette knife. I picked colors that are all on the same side of the color wheel. Warm colors in the reds, oranges, and yellows are considered warm colors. Again, these are underlayers, right? So we don't need to be precious about any of this. And while the paint is wet, it's really fun to come and scratch in and make some marks. Do some scribble writing. Create some texture where some of those underlayers are in the page as well. And I often have to do that fast because my paint dries fast here. If you lived in a more humid climate, you have a longer life to work with your paints. It's funny, that doesn't look super pink on the page, but man, is that a fluorescent pink on there. And these are some crazy colors, but to me that is the energy of celebration, is like confetti, right? Or when they release balloons, or when hot air balloons go up, which I love hot air balloons. It was one of my favorite events every year living in Plano, Texas was the Hot Air Balloon Festival, and the last time I was in Sedona, there were hot air balloons everywhere, and they're so colorful. So you probably can't see a lot of that, but I'm just sort of scratching into the paint to create a little bit of texture here. So again, what's the energy of celebration? What is the energy of celebration? Just getting all that extra paint off my palette. Hopefully you guys are creating along and making your own art while you're watching, and I'd love to know, what are you playing with this morning? Are you doing some journaling? Pause here and love to hear from you. What are you up to over there? Are you watching along? Are you creating on your own? And I'm going to drink some coffee and dry this for just a minute. All right, it's not completely dry, but it's dry enough. And it definitely is that sort of happy, chaotic, messy, Mardi Gras feeling celebration, which is super fun. Oh, I love that. So PJ said she used the prompt and made a list. Now I'm using pieces from a coloring book to create a mood for what went right and what I want more of. I love that. I love using coloring books. I have lots of them, and I love using either colored or just yet to be colored pages in my visual journaling. They make great collage material. So now I want to start to think about, where am I actually going with this page? And what do I want to happen next? And interestingly, I didn't intentionally, but sort of intuitively pick the colors of this image I had pulled that kind of match. And I'm kind of digging this image of celebration here. So I'm thinking I might use that. And I'm thinking this page maybe is going to be some words about things that I can celebrate. Things that I can celebrate. I'm going to have to ask my husband if we can block users, because I'm getting a weird comment now in the live stream. And I don't know. All right. Gotta love some internet weirdness. Delete that message and come back over here. Always an adventure being online, for sure. So it was so interesting yesterday. Sorry, in my spread I used altered images of myself from an app I shared called lensa.ai. And after I had done that and talked about it, I was on Facebook, and a friend of mine, several friends, people were kind of up in arms about the app and about how the app actually uses other people's copyrighted art to create its images, which I did not know. And there were interesting conversations. And there's definitely, so Brad and I did some research into, is it true? Is there really copyright infringement happening here because they say that it's, all open source. So, we kind of went down a rabbit hole, but there were also interesting conversations about, not encouraging people to need to alter their appearances and some of the falseness of that. And I had a different reflection on that, especially given the way that I used the images yesterday, is that I had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't doing it from a place of needing to look different than I do or not honoring my gray hair and my wrinkles and all the different things of me, but that it allowed me to just see myself a little bit differently and to have fun with it. I am fascinated and, curious and maybe even concerned with what's happening with artificial intelligence and what does it mean for art and life. And I don't know, right? It's an interesting query, but I took the perspective of playing with the app as just something that was fun, and that the technology is never the problem. It's always how people use and abuse the technology. And I've been married to a software engineer for, well, we've been together over 30 years now. And so he always makes me look at things differently. And it makes you wonder, is artificial art actually art? And I don't know that I have an answer to that, but it made for an interesting rabbit hole that we explored yesterday. So I'm trying to decide what I want to put behind this to make it pop out a little bit, and where I want to go over here on this page as well. And then how am I going to, maybe that's going to go on that page, because sunflowers always feel like a celebration, and sometimes these pages come together so easily, and other times they definitely feel a little more challenging. And my thought was to incorporate this door into a tag that I would add to the page, because there is a lot to celebrate. And I love this fun illustration. It feels silly and fun, and some of the things I'm celebrating are moving to a new place and finding local community and enjoying meeting new people. And I'm definitely feeling like I need some blue on the backgrounds here to sort of pull all this together. And do I want to go straight to blue, or do I need to add some white? So again, I'm just working intuitively. I'm trying things, moving things around, continuing to play with the process. And as my husband and I were looking at the AI images, they definitely thinned my face out, made me look younger. And in the context of the playfulness that I was approaching it with, that was fine, right? That was fine. But it does make me curious about what was the need to do that, right? And so how are we not taking time to pause and really celebrate just what we see in the mirror, right? Pause and celebrate what we see in the mirror. Try not to get paint all over my brand new pajamas, which is, probably not going to happen. See if I can even go back and bring back just continuing to play. Bring back some of those colors underneath. Most of this is going to get covered up, but putting that white down first is going to make my blue pop a little bit more. If I put the blue down over the colors, I would have some nice layers, but that blue would kind of disappear. So being able to add that helps a lot. I'm going to grab this is my latest obsession, is this golden teal has been showing up in a lot of my work. I'm curious, when you're working, do you have a color that you get obsessed with that tends to show up in all of your projects for a while? And so as you can see, I'm painting over so much of what I already painted before, right? I'm painting over so much of what I already painted before. And this is where, for me, it's really about the process and not the product. But if I hadn't added, hi Diego, come up, come on. Diego's coming to say good morning. If I hadn't added all those layers, the page would look different. It wouldn't have as much richness or texture. But also for me, all the layers of drawing with the oil pastels and adding the colors of paint was being fully in the energy of celebration, fully in the energy of celebration. And I definitely want those to be completely dry before I add my collage images. So let's just tuck those up out of the way, and let me play with this tag for a minute. I've got some paint dripping on there. So you can see my door is a little bit too big. I kind of want it to be the same as the tag. I don't even know if I have any scissors over here today. I keep moving everything back and forth between my different parts of my studio. When we moved into this house, one of the beauties of moving into this house was that it has a huge 1,200 square foot unfinished basement. So you can see behind me in the corner over there is my office space with the bookshelves, and over on my other side, and we have a little gaming TV space set up for my hubby, but the other side of the studio is all art studio space, and it's just wonderful. All right, we kind of took up most of that tag. I love tags as a way to create a little more real estate in my books, right? Because they also just, again, they add texture, they add fun, and I love things that are playful. This is our first Christmas here in our new home, so I'm really celebrating that as well. So Jill says she used the app and was impressed on the pictures, even though it increased my face wrinkles. That's so interesting. And used some pictures about 5 years ago and current ones. Yeah, they do. Sometimes they create really strange images. A lot of the ones did not look like me at all. I totally agree. But some of them were really, really fun. And so, you know, it's a fun experiment. And I took it lightly, but I know that maybe not everybody would take it lightly, and so to not use it as an opportunity to see your true self as less than, but as an opportunity to tap into that imagination of what would it look like if I were a fairy princess or a sci-fi fantasy warrior. So actually I'm going to stick that up there. I'm definitely going to have to find some ribbon to put on the top of this. And I'm just trimming that to match the edge of the tag. And I will get a little hole punch I have that's about the size of this. And this is an edge of a postcard of some of my original art. Jill, I love that you love the golden teal. I would say just have it be your signature color. You don't have to not use it, but try using it in combinations with different things. That's been kind of some of the fun that I'm trying to use it maybe differently. At one point when I was doing a lot more larger paintings on my easel, my husband said, "Man, all your backgrounds are blue," and I paint a lot of animals, and it was right. There was a lot of blue and a lot of green, and so it did make me think about how could I be more creative. I'm thinking maybe this cute little squirrel is going to go on here too, because we just put a bird feeder up. And of course, that little squirrel has been managing to dump a lot of the food out of that bird feeder. But, also squirrels are all about nesting and preparing for the future. And so this little guy is going to have a lot to celebrate come spring when he goes back to find his stash. So we can stick him on there as well. And then the other thing I love about the tag, oh yeah, for me too, the quinacridone magenta and the teal are two of my favorites. Yes, that's hilarious, PJ. Great minds think alike, and there's so many different colors of teal. Paper Artsy has a dark one that I love. But yeah, quinacridone magenta is definitely, those have been two of my favorites this year for sure. And I do try to stretch myself and, think about how can I use my favorite colors differently or in different combinations. But the other things I love about tags is they create that opportunity to add more creative real estate, texture, and fun, but also more space for journaling. And again, it's that hidden journaling. So I think later on, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to write my list of what am I celebrating. About 2022. So I can celebrate new home, travel, amazing new clients, community, being close to family, lots of time in nature this year, exploring our new area. So lots to celebrate, so I may add a few more things to that, but now I'm going to be able to have this in my book and flip it over and see it, which is one of the things I love about tags and about envelopes too. I keep getting paint on the covers of my journal here. I'm pushing it right into the wet paint, which was not very smart of me. And I don't have my baby wipes here, but a baby wipe would take that right off. And I took some of the paint off as well, but I'd rather have that than have it messed up. I can always go back, and then it made me realize that I would take either some matte medium or some Dorland's wax and seal the cover of this. So to make it last a little bit longer and protect it, I can even use the matte medium over the top of that journal as well. This is why I have under pages, right? Because that paint tends to go everywhere, which is fine. I don't care if that paint sort of bleeds over page to page. I really love the center of this where I can still see some of the writing and the colors and the mark making. I have a lot more coverage on this page, but one of the fun things to do is to take a picture, because this picture would make really, really cool collage paper. So I could print this out on some tracing paper or just regular old printer paper, let it dry really well. And now I have some of my own art to use as collage paper in future images. So it's important to take pictures of things. All right, so that's looking pretty dry. So I'm kind of wondering even if I want to make this flip up so that I can still see what's underneath it, so that I can create some multi-layered pieces. And again, then I could even do some more journaling on the back of this. I could add another hidden little image about what I want to celebrate. I'm looking at this page to see where the image is, because I could poke a hole in this, right, and just tie it on there. Plus, I'm feeling pretty attached to that beauty right there and thinking, I don't really want to cover that up. I could also attach it at the edge over here and be able to flip that up. And I could just be detached and let go of it. You like the flip up? I think I like the flip up as well. So I could do that with some washi tape. Oh, have fun volunteering today. There's so much to process from this year, PJ. I agree. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. I'll be here tomorrow. I won't be here Thursday. I realized that they changed my dentist appointment. I was supposed to be there at 8, and apparently I have to be there at 7 for a new patient exam. So one of the hardest things about moving is that getting settled with new doctors and new everything. I'm kind of feeling like I could write celebrate in here. So I will only be here Monday to Wednesday this week, or maybe I'll pop on Friday instead of Thursday. And I'm just kind of using a pencil to figure out where I want that writing to go. And I definitely want that to be super, super dry. Like I mentioned yesterday, you will kill your pens. No, it wasn't quite dry. Okay, so I am going to let that dry so I don't destroy my pen, and I will come back to that a little bit later. Definitely going to just get a little hole punch and punch that up. And I'm going to punch a hole and put some ribbon on this tag. Yes, the journaling prompt for tomorrow. The journaling prompt for tomorrow is, what memories do you want to keep from this year? What memories do you want to keep from this year? So that will be our journaling prompt for tomorrow. And now where did my other image go? I might want to bring some of those. And this image is a little tall, and it's totally cool. I'm just going to let that image stand up. And I'm going to put it way over the edge because, again, that's going to allow me some space to come in and write and journal here on the page. Okay, so let's get those out of the way. Get our matte medium. I'm going to put this image down. Yes, I've already started thinking about memories from this year that I really want to hold on to, and I'm thinking I'm going to go through some of my photos and do some kind of photo collage of all the things that I want to remember. And I'm looking for just those highlights, just a couple of images. Like, I don't need to have all my memories, right? But what are some of those high points? I had some of my good friends come to visit this year. I got some nice family time. I got to travel to some other amazing places. Made a lot of fun art this year, so I'm gonna maybe spend some time thinking about what memories do I want to keep. That's a good one to journal in advance. Oh my gosh, this image is just so stinking cute. Feels like such a celebration. And again, this is that idea of visual journaling where I don't have to do all the work myself, right? This is about capturing memories and moments. I love painting. I especially love painting and drawing animals. But sometimes I just need that perfect image to capture where I am. All right. I'm going to get the rest of that matte medium off of here. So the last two things I'm going to do here is to attach this gorgeous sunflower design. Again, this is one of Connor's Sacred Circle designs from our Mindful Patterns membership, which you can find at minette.teachable.com. And I'm going to attach this tag because I am definitely celebrating being home. I'm celebrating the beautiful sunflowers, and I love that there's going to be layers of words and writing, and all these things are going to flip open in different directions. I could put this guy over here. No, it wants to go. I could even stick it right in the center, which I'm kind of liking. But I also like seeing this color. So you can see how I just work super intuitively with these prompts to create a spread that is all about celebration. Me too, Jill. It's so fun. Which is why I took that picture of it. So now I have the picture. I probably want to come in around this. I might go grab a Stabilo, but just darken this just a little bit. Make these edges just pop out, just stand out a little more. And then I'm probably going to write around the edges of this image. And so you saw me write first was my process. I added some collage, some oil pastel, some paint, and now I want to bring some of that back. So I brought some of it back on the tag, but I also want to bring some of it back on the page. And there's definitely pens that are better at writing on top of acrylics than others. So I am going to go grab one of those on the other side of my studio and my hole punch to attach those. So you can hear me scurrying around. All right, that scurrying took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but this is the way it goes when you're in the middle of planning. So one of my favorite pens for writing over the top of acrylic and not having to worry about the tips is a Pentel Arts Hybrid Technica. This is an 06, which is kind of fine. I like the 08 a little bit better. Got my page up here. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Clean my catalyst wedge off a little bit. And I'm just going to stick something on there so I'm not getting my cover all sticky. So when I'm working in my books, I like to turn the pages around so that it's easier to work in. And also, we see different things that maybe we didn't see before. So there's a lot of value and benefit in turning pages around. So I'm going to come in here and just write a little bit about celebrating making new friends and finding community. And that's all I need to write. No one needs to be able to read that but me, right? So you can see that I've just added that little bit there. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to come back over here or if I want to kind of just leave that blank. I'm kind of thinking maybe I'm just going to leave that the way it is. And I know the words are there about what I'm celebrating, and that's what matters. So then I'm going to come in here. I've got my handy dandy little hole punch. And I'm going to try to not punch through where those words are. If I turn it upside down, I can see where the hole is. How'd we do? Ah, perfect. Awesome. And I grabbed a bag that I think has some ribbon in it. It may not have ribbon that I want. This one looks like it's mostly... Oh, here's some fun, crazy yellow. All right. Look at that big old mess of ribbon. There's talk about feeling like celebration. That just feels like happy celebration to me. And actually I kind of like this little bit of turquoise blue, kind of matches what we've been up to. And I don't need a lot of that. I just need a little piece. And then I'm going to get a big piece of this yellow over here to go on my tag. And I love things that spill over from my journal, right? Like I think they add so much fun and character, like having this page stand up or having these ribbons that are gonna stand up. And there's a couple of different ways that I could get this on here. I could simply just tie a knot traditionally, but I found it lies a little bit flatter if you double over the ribbon, put the doubled over end through your hole, and then pull the other two ends, and then we create a more sort of flat knot. So mine did not stay even on there, but I probably don't really care, and they're kind of long anyway, so let's just trim that little guy. So now I have this fun flip up. I love this because it just feels like celebration, and thinking, bye Jill, have a great rest of your day, thinking that I might put another image underneath. And I don't know what that's going to be yet, so I'm going to sit with that for a little bit. And then my last step here is going to be to attach my tag, and then this spread, nope, that does not quite go on there long enough. So we're just going to poke a hole in it. And I'm going to poke it from both sides. So I get any of those pieces that are sticking up on the back, not the front. And this one's a little fat, not sure I could get both ends through there together, so this one I'll just pull through and tie. It's some pretty crazy like bric-a-brac ribbon there, isn't it? This is going to be a very crazy, festive, different spread that, you know, almost looks like all these parts don't go together, but in my head, they really are capturing all the different things that I have to celebrate about this year. All the different things I have to celebrate about this year. So the last thing I'm going to do, and then I'll be done for today, is to attach my tag. So I've just got some festive polka dotted washi tape here. And I'm going to start on the back just because it will be easier, and I think I want that too. Get that out of the way. I think I want it to stand up above the page just a little bit so that that ribbon is up above and my page will still lay flat. Look at those polka dots, so stinking cute. I don't know what it, polka dots are another thing that just always feel like so festive and celebratory. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and these polka dots more or less coordinate, right? More or less coordinate with this spread also. And how interesting is what was 2022 like for me, that, you know, this page really makes a lot of sense. There was a lot of squirrel moments. There was celebrating new home. So it makes sense on both sides here. So I just want to get that washi tape down on both sides. Washi tape is not always the stickiest. I particularly like this one because it's transparent and I can still see the colors that are underneath. All right. And here I have a kind of funky, super fun, festive visual journaling spread. all about what I'm celebrating. And again, when I opened that envelope earlier, there was a little compass and I'm thinking that maybe this compass needs to go right here because so much of what I'm celebrating is about finding new directions and new homes. So I'm thinking that compass is going to be just the ticket to finish off the whole thing. Put a black line around this. So much of what I'm celebrating this year. And that pen feels too fat. I'm celebrating finding home and new directions. In my life and in my business. And for the flourishing of creative ideas. All right. Like I said, things that stick up, stick out, that hang over, hang out. I love creating little tip-ins and flip outs in my book, and this is a very happy, very festive spread all about community, nature, and the launch of our Mindful Patterns membership, celebrating new directions and finding home, and celebrating being home and surrounded by all of the wildlife. And so now I'm starting to get this book that makes me so happy with all the bits and bobs and pieces. So this is my 2022 end of year reflections journal. What 2022 was like for me. What am I celebrating about 2022? And I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new prompt and a brand new spread. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at what are the memories from 2022 that I want to take forward with me and hold on to into the new year. Thanks for joining me, my friends. I am Dr. Minette Riordan. This is Painting in Your PJs, and I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time.